7 minutes, so you can time me, and then we'll go straight on the panel, which I think will be, well, hopefully this will develop a platform for the panel discussion. So, the data that I'm going to go through in the 7 minutes left is based on research data that we've done across the Middle East. We did this last week. 2,700 odd respondents right across the different regions. The different regions are sort of quite evenly balanced in terms of data, so we can analyze within each region. So this is conducted via our platform over about 130 websites. So it's quite broad, it's quite rich, and very diverse, which means it's representative of internet users across the region. So the first question that I'd like to pose is, what is Groupon or group buying? And for me, it really is the evolution of e-commerce, particularly in this region. Now, e-commerce has been a bit of a dirty word in the West for a time. Even this morning there was some skepticism about e-commerce, it doesn't exist, so on. But really, I want to talk through that and kind of dispel that myth. E-commerce is alive and well, actually, in the Middle East. And it began about 8 years ago. Now, that's a beautiful picture of an airline. Now, I used to work for Emirates Airline. I started about 2001. In fact, I started on September the 9th, 2001, which is an interesting time to join an airline. But in 2003, the head of commercial came to my office and said, well, I want to build a business case to develop online booking on our website. So develop online booking for Emirates Airline. I said, well, great, let's run a survey. Interesting finding, in 2003 in the UAE, 85% said they would not book online. 85%. So that's pretty high. So pretty major barrier to actually transacting or booking online for Emirates. Many reasons for that. A lot of it was just resistance to change, a few excuses about credit cards and so on. But really, it was changing behavior from zero to doing e-commerce in the Middle East. So that was 2003. Fortunately, when I presented the findings to the commercial department, the head of commercial sort of chuckled and said, well, fine, we're going to do it anyway. And I thought he was an idiot. I thought, well, what? 85% say they don't want to do it, they're not going to do it. They are not going to do it. So thankfully they did do it, because now it's virtually 100% of all bookings for Emirates Airline is online, either direct through the consumer or through your travel agent. So the net result of that is it saved Emirates over the last few years hundreds of millions of dollars. So it was a significant decision. They were bold, they went out and did it, even though the consumer was telling them they were not interested in doing this type of activity. So that's an aviation perspective, that's airline, fine. Let's look at online banking in the region. Again, another form of transaction. It's not necessarily e-commerce, but it is transacting online. It is using a PC or a mobile to actually affect money transfers or look at different things on your bank. You know, you can see the numbers there. 68% of the GCC do bank online or have banked online in the last 6 months. Levant, 38%, North Africa, Maghreb, 37%. In fact, in the GCC, 28% of online users, online or internet users, bank every week. So my point is, the consumer is now trained, the conditions are set, they are engaging either through airline or banking or whatever they are. The consumer is definitely there, it is quite sizable, and they've learned how to do this. And that was the single biggest barrier back in 2003. So that's radically changed now. So looking at some of the research data, the findings from last week, what we see is in the GCC, 41% have purchased in the last 3 months online. In Levant, 28%. In North Africa, 21% in the last 3 months. If we look at what they buy, you can see, particularly in the GCC, it's definitely airline tickets. People travel a lot more in the GCC, I guess, and hotels. But if you look at the rest of the list, the kind of the top 12 items that people purchase, it's fairly even across the different regions. So books, computer software, and so on. So evidently, people are purchasing online. Where they're purchasing from is a different question. But why are they buying online? Well, It's about better prices, saving time. It's about convenience and having a bigger selection than you can get in your home in the market that you're in. So it's, you know, enabling better choices. What do they spend online? And if I've just taken out the airline and hotel spend because they're big ticket items, and I really want to smooth that out, but you really can see, I think it's about 82% that actually spend about $100 or less per transaction. $100 is still a fairly significant amount if you're looking at the penetration of online spend. It's pretty good. So it's happening, and it's certainly from 2003 it's changed. Preferred method of payment, cash is still king, fine, but credit card is getting up there as well. Bank transfer, special e-card or PayPal. In terms of the expectations of when a product is purchased online and they want it delivered, 52% expect it to be delivered within 10 days. 51% would buy more online if that site was in Arabic, which I think is kind of an interesting opportunity as well. So we've gone through this evolution over the last 8 years, and I think we're on the precipice of a revolution in terms of e-commerce. And I mention that because when we start looking at Groupon type stuff, or group buying, I should say, bulk discount buying, this is quite fascinating from a research point of view because the awareness levels of these type of sites is very, very high already, and it's a very young activity in the market. You know, in the GCC, 31% of the internet consumer is aware of these type of sites or this activity, which is quite high. So the question we ask is, would you buy? Would you actually do this? 25% say yes. And this data here will have the guys on the panel salivating. 49% don't know enough yet to do so, which is obviously a clear opportunity to educate and use the mechanisms that you have to raise awareness about what you do and what you have to offer. And these figures, by the way, include everyone. They're not just people that have only book online. This is everyone. So the point I'd like to make is, if we look at back at 2003, Emirates, 85% said they would not book online. If you look at it now, Emirates is the region's leading e-commerce provider. I mean, in terms of revenue, activity, it's massive. So that's 2003. 2011, it really does, as the whole thing is being switched on its head. 19% have said that they would not purchase via a group buying site, which is obviously the inverse of 85%. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So what is the future? Well, I'm not going to bet against it. I did before, and I was made to look foolish. So I think it's time for the panel, and I'll hand it over to you guys. And it's just a little special message from Effective Measure there. Thanks.
Thanks, Brendon, especially for that wonderful image of people on their heads on the earth, which you must have searched the image bank for ages to get. Our panelists today, Mr. Paul Kenny, founder and CEO of Cobone. Give him a big hand, please. Mr. Sinan Khatib is Director of Business Development at BuyWithMe. Sohrab Jahanbani is co-founder and CEO of GoNabit. And Abdullah Asal of Aferna, the Egyptian group buying site. What I'm going to do very quickly, gents, if I may, is ask you one by one to very, very briefly introduce your platform when you launched without using any sales pitch.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Paul Kenny, the CEO of Cobone.com. We launched late last year. We're currently in 6 cities, and we're growing pretty fast. Looking forward to sharing some information with you guys later.
Which 6 cities?
So we're in the UAE, basically 3 cities there. We're in Jordan, Lebanon, Bahrain also.
Sir?
My name is Sinan Khatib. I'm on the executive team of BuyWithMe. BuyWithMe was founded in May 2009. It was the second player in the space anywhere. It was right after Groupon. We've raised $22 million from Bain Capital Ventures and Matrix Partners, and we're up to 12 or 13 cities now in the United States.
Abdullah?
My name is Abdullah Asal, founder of Oferna. We launched, we were planning to launch on January 25th, I'm not kidding. And that was, you know what happened. A few days later, we didn't have internet in Egypt. So we launched it in March. Now we're 2 weeks down the road, and things are moving faster than we expected. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Saurabh Jahambani. I'm co-founder of GoNabit.com. We launched May 26th last year, and we're currently live in 7 cities. The UAE, we're in Beirut, we're in Amman, we're in Kuwait, and last week we launched in Cairo. We've been growing very quickly, and I hope most of you have heard of who we are. Thank you.
Okay, so broadly speaking, we are talking about incredibly young companies here. It's a very, very young category. It's creating a lot of buzz and hype, and everyone's talking about group buying. I was talking to Paul earlier today, who told me there are 25 group buying sites now opened up across the Middle East alone. What's been the appeal of group buying? Why has it taken off so fast? Why has it become this very sort of, it's almost the cupcakes of the internet, very low revenue, very low capital cost, very high success? I mean, Paul, what made it so successful so quickly?
Well, I think it's the appeal of the deals. I mean, everyone really likes to save money, but to go to a point there that you said people believe it's low setup costs, like although we have 25 competitors, we've already 4 deaths. It's not low setup costs. The intricacies of the model, people believe, oh, you just source a deal and you put it live. Pretty simple, you make money. There's actually a lot of bits and pieces that make the whole thing work. So it's much more complicated than the public may think.
Sinan, what's been the success of group buying? I mean, it started in the States, it's obviously massive in the States, it's globalized. Now you as stateside companies, you and Groupon are facing local competitors globally. Why has everyone thought it's such a great idea?
So taking a step back, I'd first start with, what are the dynamics of this business that result in it being a powerful business model? Historically, when you looked at local merchants, their choices as it related to advertising was to go to the yellow pages, was to go to the radio stations and pay upfront money with ad spends to get exposure to their businesses. Those ad spends required them to spend money right off the bat, and they didn't have any measurable results in terms of what was the success of that campaign. There were customers that came into their stores, but they didn't know where those customers came from. What the group buying space did is that it allowed the business model to shift for how local merchants were able to advertise. First, they were able to measure what was the result of that ad campaign, because the voucher as it came into that store was a voucher that was identified coming from a particular company, say Groupon or BuyWithMe or whoever it is. And secondly, it didn't require the merchant to pay any money up front. And when you allowed the merchant to have better cash flow, have measurable results with analytical data that proves the success, and inundate them instantly with 500 new customers into their prospective restaurant within a few weeks, that was a paradigm shift in how local advertising worked.
Do those customers come back?
So that's part of a second paradigm shift that's waiting to happen. If you looked at the Groupon phenomenon as the first paradigm shift of how do you get hundreds of customers into a particular establishment, the next phase, I think, or the most cutting edge product development that's going to be coming out is thinking about how do you begin to analyze the data of the demographics of certain individuals who are coming back to that particular establishment and marrying future offers strictly to that demographic such that the repeat rate goes from, say, 5% and move it up to 25%. When you can begin to achieve those kind of results, there's a whole other Groupon business waiting to happen. The complexity comes in how do you track that? And there are different ideas being thrown around, and even Groupon, the biggest company, has trouble with it. Are you going to be tracking credit card transactions? Are you going to be using reservation functions? But the future of the business is very much going to gear away from how do we just send generic deals out to coupon clippers who might want to go to the particular establishment to how do I marry targeted deals that are relevant for the merchant in terms of who is it that you're putting to their doorstep and are they going to come back as repeat customers at retail price? Because it's an unsustainable business model if all you're getting for the prospective merchant are coupon clippers.
I saw that. A very good question there. Do I really need 500 hungry cheapskates in my restaurant?
Mm-hmm. Sorry,
I'm going to start out from GoNabit. I mean, you guys have had the regional experience. Do I really need 500 hungry cheapskates in my restaurant?
I don't know. It depends on the type of business you're running, I guess. I think that if I could say something about cheapskates. We recently ran a survey with YouGov Siraj. On our user base, we had 2,200 people taking part. One of the things that may surprise you, Alex, is that 38% of our users have a monthly income higher than $5,300. So I think, it's quite easy to say, the demographics are going to be deal hunters. We haven't seen that. I don't know if that's, if that's atypical to us or whether that's, common across the industry. But certainly what we've seen is that, I think I agree with my fellow panelists from BuyWithMe. I think that there's a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of data analysis. But also, I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done, pre-flight in terms of looking at deal structure before the deal goes live. And, Paul mentioned on this, the intricacies of deal structure. There's actually a lot that a group buying site can do in terms of deal structure to make sure that, first of all, the relationship is being built between the buyer and the merchant and not between the buyer and the group buying site. So, we have a large team of copywriters and researchers. We create, unique, what we think is witty content, for every business that we work with. We'll write about, aspects of their business that aren't involved with the deal that we're actually working on. And the reason is we're trying to build this relationship between our buyers and that business, and not really, between the buyer and us. I think we're a conduit that creates these deals, and we create a safe environment where our buyers can come in and, shop safely. So I think, do you want, 500, cheapskates? No. And really, I don't think that's what we provide. I think what we provide is an opportunity for businesses to use performance-based marketing to generate footfall, which, then is up to them, to make sure that they give the users a good experience, and hopefully they'll come back. And I think part of the work we do is to make sure that when a, GoNabit customer arrives at the business, they're not treated any differently to another customer. And, that's a very important factor in the process.
So the greeting wouldn't be, oh, you're one of the cheapskates then?
Sorry?
That wouldn't be your recommended greeting then? Oh, you're one of the cheapskates?
No, that wouldn't be. That may not go down well.
Abdullah, so you're the newest of them, and you're the sort of most locally focused. You're the guy that's in Cairo. You launched in Cairo. One, how have you found it launching? What kind of deals are you doing? And two, do you not worry about all these other nasty big guys breathing down your neck?
So that's a very good question. See, this business, the key word in this business is local.
Is?
Local. That's the key word. The other key word is numbers. So unless you're after big numbers, you're not really going to go far. So you really have to go after the big market. I think the big market in the region, essentially based on numbers, is Egypt and Saudi, with all respect. We have 20 million internet users in Egypt and almost 50 to 70 million mobile users. And I think these mobile users are savvy enough to perform some mobile commerce, and that happens. So with this big number, you really have to deliver them a message that is extremely tailored to how they understand technology. You cannot just bring a model, copy-paste it, and bring it without tailoring it. We're really inspired by Groupon in the idea as a concept for a reason, that they bring a real value to the users. When I looked on the market in Egypt, I found research done by Nielsen in 2009, July. At that time, internet was about 15 years in Egypt. Less than 2% of the internet users in Egypt ever purchased online. If that means something, that there is no e-commerce in Egypt, right? Diving deep into the reasons of that, we found that payment is not the big deal. Payment is a challenge indeed, but that's not the big deal. The big deal is value. If you're going to sell me a mobile phone that's in the store for $500, and I sell it on a website for $500, I'm going to go buy it from a store. So you really have to offer a value. With this in mind, the group buying was essential to introduce the e-commerce in Egypt and to capture the huge momentum, the billion-dollar market in Egypt. The group buying offers a clear value that makes people go out of their way and change their purchase behavior and start buying online and saying, okay, that's something that I would concern. So that's why we're currently focusing on the big market. We're definitely looking into other big markets moving on, but we think that if we really focused and nailed the details of locals, when I say local, it's not about local shops. That's indeed a component, but the most important component in local is what to say and what not to say and how to say it. I'll give you a very short example. Like I used to live in the US for a few years, and in the US when you say that's a free lunch or free food, everyone would say, yeah, I'm gonna come. Yes, that's excellent. Even well-off people would come. If you come and say in our region that's a free food, people would look, oh, you know what, I'm not poor to come. That's just a small example of how local understanding of the nuance of the market and the culture and what to say and how to say it and where to say it. Because we're in marketing business, online marketing, we're in marketing. And we spend a lot on marketing, online and offline. And if you're only relying online, which is effective a little bit on spending, you will not go far. If you move offline, you'll spend a lot of money. And if you don't understand the local context, you really want to spend a lot of money without reaching your targets. So that's why we're currently focusing on nailing this big market and then moving next to the next bigger market.
So it's today Egypt, tomorrow the world.
Pardon?
Today Egypt, tomorrow the world.
Yeah, well, who knows? We set a new standard in Revolution, so might be a new standard in e-commerce.
Brendon's been stupid and not run away. So Brendon, if you want to come and take that seat. I'm going to ask you guys in the audience, how many of you have done a group buying deal? How many people have actually bought on a group buying site? Hang on a second, I'm going to come down to you.
I do.
Tell me, what deal did you go for?
I got a deal for kayaking. Yeah. JBR in Dubai.
Do you ever go back?
I see myself going back. Yeah, why not? Not yet.
Anybody else?
I got deals from Cobone, GoNabit, and Groupon. Sorry? Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody else? Bought on a group buying site? Sir?
Yes, I bought from GoNabit and Cobone for tickets to movies, dinner, and massage.
Tickets to movies, dinner, and a massage. Was this by yourself, or did you take someone? Did you ever go back? Yes. Because of the experience you had, or just because that's somewhere you went anyway? Because of the experience you had. Anybody else? Whoa, hang on a second. Massage, dinner, and the movies.
It's a perfect night.
My God. Right, where are you?
I think I bought the same massage packages.
I bought 4. I've been back.
Anybody else? No? Nobody else is missing the massage package. Okay, what about the problem of stickiness? What about the problem of, I know these guys are going to come to my place. How do I make sure they come back to my place? What do you do to help people do that? Paul?
I think one of the key roles that we facilitate the businesses is educating them of how to manage 100 new customers, 500 new customers, 1,000 new customers. It's actually probably one of the biggest challenges is that businesses currently are, I'm not going to say untrained on managing high yield. So what happens tomorrow if I give you 1,000 customers? And what value can you take from having so many new customers come through the door?
There's no doubt at all about that. This stuff works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You're looking at driving 1,000 customers and more to an outlet.
But then we would educate them on what experience can you give them to make sure they come back. So as Saurabh said, you don't want them as the coupon guys. You want to say, I'm just a normal customer. And if you tell the merchant on how to approach it, we find that a lot of customers do come back, and a lot of customers would post it on their Facebook and say, hey, we had a great experience in this massage parlor or in this restaurant or whatever it is, and they would share it with their friends. So I think it's all down to our relationship with the merchant to make sure the merchant fulfills his duty with the deal.
And are there particular, again, Sinan, you got I guess your site has the most experience. Are there particular categories that really work well with group buying? We see quite a lot of sort of dinners and massages going down. Is that where we're at, or are there other product categories that work well as well?
So just a few data points. First of all, when you look at the United States e-commerce business at large, and certainly daily deal sites fall into this as well, the demographic very strongly skews female. You're looking at 75% plus female.
In the Middle East, it's all the boys buying massages.
Well, hopefully he's given it to his significant other maybe, but at the end of the day, the demographic in the United States is 75% female, and you're looking at 25 to early 40s is really the target audience. And so when you look at the nature of the deals that are going up on the daily deal sites, they skew very heavily towards that sort of, we call them the urban fashionista who has a sensibility about getting a good deal. But to the point that was made earlier about are they all just coupon clippers, I think that needs to be transcended, and there needs to be a new paradigm shift in how we understand what this is about. I think this is about experience creation, where somebody might be living in a particular city and they're risk averse to trying something new, and they're looking for ideas, but they might not want to go do it at retail price. And this is really a vehicle to nudge people in the right direction. And to Paul's point, the merchant relationship here becomes very significant of how then do you act as a marketing vehicle for local merchants and create experiences in the community where you can drive traffic into their places.
Well, hang on a second. So you're telling me that I should give you some of my money, I should drop my pants on the cost of this stuff, and I should be extra nice to the customers that come in that you've sent to me?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, I was very specific.
I get a feeling this isn't all sort of two-way here. You know, I think one of us is getting more than the other.
Let me give you a very specific example of what happens in the alternative. We've done deals where if you don't prep the merchant, and the relationship with the merchant has to be much more substantial than they just inked a deal that said, hey, go at it and you can now sell it. We actually have to go into the merchant and check out the facilities and check out their store and make sure that everything we're comfortable with the volume that they're about to experience. Because there have been restaurants where if you haven't prepped them sufficiently or given them notice as to when you're going to run, they haven't brought a sufficient number of massage therapists or a sufficient number of waiters or food to service the number of new customers you're delivering. And what ends up happening is the customer has a bad experience, then goes on to, say, a Yelp rating and rates the restaurant or the massage parlor poorly, and that reflects horribly on the merchant. And for him or her, having that reputational element maintained, or if anything, elevated to a higher standard is a very big risk that you run as you're managing your merchant relationship.
But you have a vested interest in that as well, because if you send me somewhere and it really sucks, I'm going to remember you for having sent me there as well.
Yeah, the merchant always has to provide a quality experience, and it's on us to make sure that we've done the due diligence necessary to make sure the process and the experience was going to go smoothly.
So Saurabh, I mean, take GoNabit, how much responsibility do you take for the customer? I mean, you've put the deal up there, it's your site they've gone to, they have a relationship with you because they bought with you more than once and you want that kind of person, and then it really sucks that the retailer lets it go wrong. How much responsibility do you take? Do you visit the retailers? Do you have a standard of quality that you insist on? Do you make them sign up to certain service levels?
It's a very good question, and we actually ran some internal numbers 10 days ago. And we've actually visited 82% of the merchants that we've worked with. I guess we'll try and keep improving that number. I guess in the States there's slightly more online research you can do, but we have a research team, and I think that to your point about stickiness, I think if you start thinking about stickiness post deal day, it's too late. And I think that you need to do a lot of work beforehand, as well as the capacity planning and volume planning that you do. We actually cap deals, so if we want to work with a merchant, we have a framework for discussion about what volume they can sort of handle. We look at worst case scenarios, and if we feel that we'd like to work with this merchant for various reasons, but at the same time we don't want to pressure them in terms of volume, we'll put a cap on the deal, and we're quite happy doing that. At the end of the day, it's the customer experience that's important, and not whether we sell another 100 vouchers. So I think that stickiness, building a relationship with the customer, lots that we can do before the deal. In terms of what happens after the deal, yes, of course we feel responsible. At the end of the day, we are curating our site in terms of we're saying, hey, this is today's offering for this category of deal. So if one of our customers has a bad experience, we're there for them. We have dedicated telephone support in all 7 markets that we work in. You can our contact numbers are very sort of available on the site. You can call us. You don't speak to a machine. You speak to a human being. We guarantee to come back to you within 60 minutes. So I think there's a lot of aftercare things that we've committed to doing, and actually a lot of our sort of values as a business were formulated. I was here last year with my business partner Dan Stuart, and on the plane back from ArabNet last year, we sort of made a list of what we as a business thought were values that we wanted to stick to. So we had making sure that we're committed to user privacy, no spam, I guess excellence in customer service, and most importantly, making sure that businesses that we work with have a brand positive experience.
I mean, with all due respect, those seem to me to be givens. I would expect those from any of you guys on stage.
Well, I think that certainly I can speak on a couple of points. In terms of user privacy, we decided to hold ourselves to the highest sort of international standards. So, we found the market leader. It's an organization called Trustee. They certify companies like Microsoft and Yahoo, and we're the first e-commerce site in the Middle East to be certified by Trustee. So I think there's things you can do, and there's things like that. With telephone support, I'm not sure if my competitors offer it. It's something that we've done from the start and will continue to do, and we'll probably offer more of it. We have a certain philosophy about customer service, and that's what we followed on. So I can't speak for my peers, but certainly that's our position.
Okay, doke. So we have here in front of us Mr. Figures, Brendon, the man who's got all the data. We've got Paul and Sohrab, who represent the regional leaders, the guys that got to market first and that have expanded regionally. We've got the little guy, Done Good, coming out of Cairo, who's going to challenge them in a few months' time. And we have a global Leviathan as well. We did invite Groupon to join us, and they did say they would come, and they haven't, which I think is a terrible shame. But ladies and gentlemen, any questions for our stellar panel? A question already. One second.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to ask if you guys have any data on how many people actually come back and pay full price for whatever product and service.
Sohrab.
So we actually do. It's difficult data to get at the moment. There's various models in terms of tracking redemption. I'm sure BuyWithMe have other data, but the last snapshot we had, it varies category by category. So F&B is slightly different to massages. Price point is also important, but the average that we found was 36%. I don't know if that's consistent with BuyWithMe.
I mean, it's definitely not an easy thing to track. I've had conversations with all the major credit cards, and there's a lot of conversations now about how can we use the credit card pathway systems to understand, did that prospective member come back again and visit that local merchant and pay retail price, and then immediately get the data points sent over to us so that we can digest the information. I think till now that code hasn't been cracked. There's a lot of other ways to think about it, getting some meaningful data from prospectively like a reservation function or from stored value cards. But as of right now, I don't think anybody claims that they have full knowledge in terms of what's occurring subsequently.
Much as I hate to be fair to you guys, it really doesn't belong with you anyway, does it? It belongs to the retailer, that repeat experience. It's down to the person making the offer to make sure that people actually want to go back there, surely.
Yeah, but that's not completely accurate, because oftentimes that merchant is going to be running again with the daily deal site 6 months or a year out. And if he didn't have a good experience with you in terms of getting retail customers coming back, he's not going to run that deal again.
Okay. My question actually is, I'm going back to the stickiness part, because I believe, personally, I believe this business has no stickiness. I'm not sure if I'm wrong. Guys, you can correct me. I believe if I launch a group buying site tomorrow and I have really a very, very nice deal, I'll get the users coming to my site. So I believe it's all about the deal and not about the site, because it all offers the same user experience. And I believe it's more offline business than online business. I'm not sure.
I mean, again, to be fair to the panel, which I hate doing, this is most uncharacteristic of me, we did speak to a number of people who had stuck, but there seems to be a concern about stickiness. So how do you, when you're talking to people who want to do deals, how do you make them feel better about their sticky factor?
I think it's all down to how you formulate the deal. So to go back to that, I mean, people may see the daily deal site and say, oh, it's just a simple deal, but it's even down to the numbers, the price points, the descriptions, and then it really is a two-way relationship. So it's us educating the merchant, of course, and educating the team there, but it's also about the business giving a great experience.
And is that the only reason I want to do a group deal anyway? Do I only ever want to do it because of stickiness? Is that the only thing I want from you guys?
Well, what we find is most of our merchants come back and do another deal. So they do see a pickup. Like a great example was we did a deal with Nando's, Nando's Chicken, who's based in downtown Dubai. They were covering 10 covers a day. It was dead. They did the deal, they went up to 100 covers per day, and they're averaging 40 to 50 covers per day since. And the validity of the deal is over. But now they're saying, okay, so we've had an increment of that percentage. I want to do another deal so it goes to 100 covers per day. So there is a stickiness factor, but as we've all said, it's very hard to measure. I think it's completely a new business to actually measure the stickiness factor of the model.
I just want to add one thing to that's important. When I first got into this business, everybody thought it was easy. You just had to have 2,000 Facebook friends, 5 cousins who own restaurants and spas, and throw up a website and you're a Groupon competitor. And in its early stages, that might have seemed like a compelling proposition. The reality is that the business is extremely fast evolving, and there are tens of millions of dollars that are being poured into product development to create a much more sophisticated version of what is going to probably be Deal Delivery 2.0. And so all the folks who are talking about, is this a sticky business? Can I go out and compete myself tomorrow? You're thinking about the archaic Deal Delivery 1.0. Deal Delivery 2.0 is going to require a lot more product development and iterations that the average person who's just starting off won't be able to compete. Very significantly is personalization.
Are you coming into an area now where the scale of your business means that you're able to do those developments in a way that makes the little guys unable to compete with you?
There undoubtedly is that, because my job at BuyWithMe is also corporate development, and I bought a lot of smaller competitors.
So your job is to squish the poor Egyptians?
Or more specifically, buy them.
Yalla, go.
Well, yeah. What happens is that you're going to see a lot more personalization come into play, where today you're getting an email a day. 9 out of 10 days, that email is completely irrelevant and you're not converting. The way the future of this system is going to work out is that there's going to be a lot more data mining of your life and saying, who are you as an individual? What do you care about? How do I begin to put deals in front of you where the conversion rate is much higher?
Well, you're assuming I want to give you all that stuff.
Well, I mean,
want to tell you who I am, what I like, what...
Maybe you don't, but there's a humongous portion of the population that's opening up their Facebook page, opening up all sorts of data and information about who they are, at a minimum where they live and some of the basic dynamics of their life. And from there, you begin to put deals in front of them where the conversion rate goes from, say, 5% and you move it up to 10, 15%. That's a game changer.
I want to add something.
Wow. I was just going to say that I'm actually not too keen on the personalization. I think that one of the things that's very interesting about this business model are the happy accidents. And I think that, one of the reasons that, group buying has been so successful is the idea of daily deals. And, we shoot for 2.5. So, with any given week, there'll be 2.5 deals that you'll be interested in. Maybe one for yourself, maybe one for someone you know, and, half, split either way. So, once we move to highly personalized email delivery, I think you start to get into user apathy. And I think that, if my profile suggests, hey, I'm someone that bought a massage, I don't want to receive 5 massage deals a week. We recently ran a deal for a chiropractor. How would you decide who's suitable for a chiropractor deal? And there's lots of happy accidents that happen as a result of mailing that up.
This foot scrub also went on this yachting holiday.
Sorry?
Customers that bought this foot scrub also went on this yachting holiday.
Yeah, so there's a lot of data mining like that happens. But I think that's not what makes this business model unique.
Yeah, I want to add something to answer on the question about, he asked 2 questions. I think the second question answers the first. The first question is stickiness, second one is offline more than online. I cannot agree more. It's offline business more than anything else, especially in our region. You have to understand that our region, not in this room is not representative, but in our region, we speak about the millions, dealing with email is not as religious as the West, okay? So if you really rely only on email and targeting and so on and so forth, you're missing a big part of the market. So the offline component and building the knowledge and know-how, and I'll tell you something here, to make sure that our customers get a really good treatment, at least not less than the average one, we have a system that we go personally, get to know the tellers and train them and make personal relationship with them. That is a hell of an operation. And it paid off for us, especially for the first deal. We had very happy customers because they went and it was with Puma, and the guy, the store picked up some stuff from the inventory that was not open for anyone, just opened up for our customers. So it paid off, but on the flip side, it's a nightmare in terms of operation. So building this process, building this system, building this structure is really not easy. There's a learning curve. It's an offline business, and the online is an interface. You use technology, the mobile and web, just to capture the market, but then everything happens offline. And this offline knowledge is not easy to replicate. You really need lots of investment, lots of experience to do it again. It's not just a website and a good deal.
Okay, we've got lots of questions. Let's go move on.
Hi. The business model of group buying has worked very well, but it has been limited to services only. Do you see it expanding to products? Would it work for the merchant also? Because I understand you cannot give 50% discount on products. So would it work?
You just said you did a deal on Pumas. They're products, aren't they?
I really didn't get the question. If you can repeat it for me.
Your businesses are based on services, not actually physical products. But you just said your first deal was Puma.
I didn't say it's essentially service only. We sell everything. Any supplier, any service provider who's willing to offer a real value for customers, and we know the customers will like it, we will sell it. Simple as that.
Paul?
Actually, Puma was quite successful.
I mean, I think you've said exactly what the model is. The model is extremely immature. It's basically 2 years old. So how it changes is, I mean, it's anyone's game right now. I mean, we've tried launching a Dubai premium product, so it's more higher ticket items, and we're diversifying our portfolio of offerings. So we started doing some retail. We sold a billboard. I mean... a
billboard?
Yeah.
Was it an outside advertising board? You sold it on Cobone?
Yeah, I mean, you experiment with different mediums, because why not? Everyone's looking for a deal, whatever the product is. It could be retail, it could be travel, it could be anything. So yeah, the model will develop, and it depends who pioneers leading that.
High ticket items, what? 40% off a Bentley? High ticket items, what's that? 40% off a Bentley? Or?
But I was just going to say that an argument can be made actually that this product or this business originated from a product permutation where it's the private sale companies like the Gilt Group or Atlok or Rulala who are selling products, clothing in particular, at a discount to a massive email list that got this going. And so that came before group buying.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was going to use the Woot example that actually, the business model existed, first in products. I think the dynamics are quite different though. With product, it's more a case of very targeted, sale of, I guess, what is, excess inventory. Whereas what we're doing is actually creating that first-time user experience, with a business, and then setting that up for future ongoing business.
Yeah, but if I've got 500 TVs I want to shift, you're not going to say no to me, are you?
Sorry?
If I've got 500 TVs I want to shift,
well, I think there's a margin
depends what
consideration.
TV. Depends what TV.
We have fulfillment issues
they're
too.
Legal. They're legal. There's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah. There's a margin consideration. I think that once the marginal cost of production rises to a certain level, then the dynamics change again. Fulfillment, it's a clear issue. We don't want to get involved in logistics.
So Sinan seems to be saying that I don't want to get involved in delivering TVs to people.
Yeah, but there's just to make a point of clarification, there's selling a voucher that entitles you to redeem it at a place that gives you a product, say the Puma store, and there's actually selling Puma shoes and you deliver them. We're not generally in the second business, we could be in the first business.
Understood.
Abdullah mentioned one keyword which is important about being local. We tend to be in cities that are quite small. We're not talking about big cities. And this might put you in a spot, the local players. How do you see the business evolving in the future, given that it's the same customers that you might go back to? And do you see them competing on margin or forcing you to lower your margins? And how do you protect your business against each other, given that the fact it's the same customers you go back to within a year time? So if you fast forward 2 years' time, how do you see this evolving?
That's a good question.
I think 2 years is too long to try and fast forward to, with all due respect.
2 months.
Yeah.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen a model that moves so fast. I think, to answer your question, it really depends on the value adds that working with Cobone would give you. So why would they work with us compared to somebody else? And I think it's about developing the platform, so into verticals like Dubai Premium, plus the payment methods you would offer the customer. So what mass can you give them? You can give people cash options, but you can give them credit, like we do. So I think the model is moving at such a pace that it's very hard to say. I mean, I would pretty much say in 2 months we could diversify completely. 2 years, I couldn't even fathom a guess.
You guys regionalised quite quickly. Quite soon after launch, you're both playing Risk with the Middle East, and one of you is going to dominate it and become the evil empire. I mean, how regional does the business become? How easy is it to do regional deals? Are you even interested in that, or are you just staying local in every instance?
So, you know, we've experimented with that. We've done a couple of regional deals. I think we did one with Aramex for their shop and ship product. And we did that in all the markets, you know, that we were live in. And, you know, worked very well for them, worked very well for us. And I think that's, you know, when, you know, if you look at the States, you know, certainly the top 2 players, you know, excuse me, but, you know, Living Social and Groupon, I'm not sure if BuyWithMe have done such a deal. But, if you look at Groupon, you know, they did a deal with Gap, you know, which was across the nation. You know, Living Social did a deal with Amazon, and then
yeah, but the States is way different to this region. This region's got country managers, it's got vested interests in each country, it's got family-owned companies. Well, it's not necessarily going to cooperate with you across the region.
Well, no, I think you're looking at working with a single business. So in the States, you know, you can work with Amazon. Here, you can work with a company like Aramex that has, you know, presence across the region. And I think that's really the question: is yes, we can do those kind of deals here.
And but can I add something here, Alex? I'm sorry. Definitely, I mean, each company has different strategy, but when I look at this kind of deals, we really come from a fundamental belief that in our business model, our region is not one region. Our business model, if you treat our region as one region, you really gonna miss the opportunity. Every single country, maybe every single city, has its own flavor. There is much more coherence across the US than it is across the same country here in
Understood, but with respect, Starbucks in Riyadh is Starbucks in Cairo is Starbucks in Bahrain.
Okay.
So there are obviously regional synergies.
But you said earlier, each one of them has separate country manager. Each one is sorted with a separate legal stuff. Each one, even some. I mean, in McDonald's in Egypt, they have a falafel in McDonald's. Come on. I don't think they will have.
Yeah. I would just bring up, there are national deals in the United States, which would probably be the equivalent of a regional deal, and then there are the hyper-local deals. The origins of this business and the bread and butter of this business is hyper-local. It's how do you get the local find this really great sushi restaurant that nobody knows about or nobody went to, and nudging people to go into those places. The bigger regional blockbuster deals are actually less so about revenue and more so about user acquisition and awareness. It's a marketing vehicle.
Fair enough.
You just touched upon user acquisition. In terms of loyalty for a consumer that's using a group buying portal, why will I stick with one? I will probably use all of them. So in terms of building loyalty for your actual consumers, which are people coming onto your site, why should I stick with you and why not with someone else? And how do you maintain that loyalty?
And just a follow-up question to that is, what actually differentiates you? Because traditionally it's about brand, because you want to drive, so the stickiness is actually brand. I mean, you all provide a very similar service, so ultimately, you know, it comes back to loyalty. How does that work? Because it's very interesting how this works.
Yeah, I think one is the quality of the deals. I mean, we can say whatever we want about the brands, but the quality of the deal will always win. Whoever has the best deal will win. But it's also down to a few other factors. I mean, being truly local, so having Arabic content. I mean, almost half of the content consumed on our site is in Arabic. And it's also down to the payment methods. So would I go with one compared to another, depending on the payment method they provide? So there are some value adds there, and people do become brand advocates of your brand traditionally purely because of the deals you do feature. I think it's down to that.
Okay, so let's wrap it up with this question. Sinan, what's your big differentiator?
So I still believe that the product permutations are incredibly important. I mean, if you're looking at our company in particular, some of the things that stand out are that our deals don't stay for one day, they stay for 1 week. It gives you more time to actually make a purchase, and there are more live deals at any given moment. But I think the real differentiators are going to come from who can own the merchant relationships and build a merchant portal that services the merchants far beyond just delivering 500 random people into a restaurant. It has to get more advanced than that. And then on the consumer side, how do you begin to target consumers in a more thoughtful way by positioning the deals in much higher conversion rates as a result of where do they live, what do they care about, and who they are. I think, you know, to Saurabh's point, over-personalization probably is, you lose something, but there are some issues that relate to who you are as an individual that unquestionably affect whether you buy it or not, in particular, say, geography. Where do you work, where do you live? And the companies that are going to best understand who you are and what you want to see in front of you are the ones that you're going to continue dealing with.
Abdullah, in 3 seconds flat, do you believe that your local strength will keep these walls away from your door?
Yeah, tough question. I'll tell you something. In our business, the most thing that we miss is educating the market. So in our case now, especially now, in these days, we need someone to educate the market with us. So actually in our benefit that other companies are coming and educating the market. The market is still very big. I think the real, I would say, heated competition will come, I think, a year to two down the road, not today. We actually, as strategically Ofarna, it's really good for us because we cannot afford budget-wise to educate the entire market. And if you multiply the marketing budget by 3, is definitely a very solid thing for our model.
Sohrab, we talked about the differentiators of GoNabit, you know, the quality and the effort you're putting into the call center and so on. So, I mean, for you, a final question for the panel. How many, we're seeing 25 regional group buying companies right now, or sites right now. How many will we see at the end of the year? 50 or 10?
I think, you know, it's the business model is evolving. Will the current guise of, you know, daily deals that we're doing be, you know, what is prevalent next year? Probably not. I would suspect that, you know, the existing business model will probably, you know, make up about 50% of our transactions. So, you know, will there be lots of competitors in the daily deal site? Probably. You know, as the business model evolves, I think that there become new barriers to entry. So and I think that as, you know, the sector kind of matures, local commerce as a whole was very fragmented. It's suddenly, you know, become consolidated through business model, you know, in terms of classified ads, you know, brochures and so forth. So I think, yes, there'll be competitors, but, you know, maybe the business model will evolve that the business will have a far greater breadth. And I don't think there'll be that many competitors competing across the full breadth.
Thank you very much for the panel. You've been stellar. Can we have a round of applause for the panel, please? It would make you blush, wouldn't it? It would make you blush. Ladies and gents, a little bit of housekeeping just before I let you go. Don't forget, if you do want to go to the cultural evening tonight down at Sadico, or if you want to join us down there for the dinner, buses are leaving at 8 o'clock, so you need to be there 10 minutes before from the Cosmo, the Padua and Habtoor. If you want to join us down there for the dinner, it is at Ajami Square. Between 9 and 9:30, people will start rocking up there. So if you'd like to have a tour of the souks down there, please come to the buses or meet us down there around about the 8:15 mark. And if you'd like to join us for the dinner, between 9 and 9:30 at Ajami Square. Thank you so much. You've been fantastic. Goodbye.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you very much.